Hello everyone. Today we discuss our latest and greatest leader, Mr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. After graduating from Elphinstone College, University of Bombay, Ambedkar studies economics at Columbia University and the London School of Economics, receiving doctorates in 1927 and 1923, respectively, and was among a handful of Indian students to have done so at either institution in the 1920s. He also trained in the law at Green's in London. In his early career, he was an economist, professor, and lawyer. His later life was marked by his political activities. He became involved in campaigning and negotiations for partition, publishing journals advocating political rights and social freedom for journalists, and contributing to the establishment of the State of India in 1956. He converted to Buddhism, initiating mass conversion of details. In 1919, the Bharat Ratna, India's highest civilian award, was posthumously conferred on Ambedkar. The solution Jai Bhim, used by followers, honors him. He is also referred to by the honorific meaning respected father. As the next topic, early life and education. Ambedkar was born on 14 April 1891 in the town and military cantonment of Maho. He was the 14th and last child of Ramji Maloji Sakpal, an army officer who held the rank of Subedar, and Bhima Sai Sakpal, daughter of Lakshman Murbatkar. His family was Marathi background from the town of Ambedkar in Ratnagiri district of modern-day Maharashtra. Ambedkar's ancestors has long worked for the army of the British East India Company, and his father served in the British Indian Army at the Mahou cantonment. Ambedkar was born into a Mahar caste who were treated as untouchables and subjected to socio-economic discrimination. Although they attended school, Ambedkar and other untouchable children were segregated and given little attention or help by teachers. They were not allowed to sit inside the class. When they needed to drink water, someone from a higher caste hand to poor and that water from a haste, as they were not allowed to touch either the water or the vessels that contained it. This task was usually performed for the young Ambedkar by the school peon, and if the peon was not available, then he had to go without a water. He described the situation later in his writing as no peon, no water. He was required to sit on a gunny sack, which he had to take home with him. Ramji Sakpal died in 1894 and the family moved to Satara 2 years later. Shortly after their move, Ambedkar's mother died. The children were cared for by their paternal aunt and lived in difficult circumstances. Their sons Balram, Anandarao, and Bhimarao, and two daughters Manjula and Tulasha of the Ambedkars survived them. Of these brothers has sisters only. Ambedkar passed his examination and went to high school. His original surname was Sakpal, but his father registered his name as Ambedkar in school, meaning he comes from his native village, Ambadave, in Ratnagiri district. His Marathi Brahmi teacher Krishnaji Kesav Ambedkar changed his surname from Amdavekar to his own surname Ambedkar in school records. Education. In 1897, Ambedkar's family moved to Mumbai, where Ambedkar becomes the only untouchable enrollment at Elphinstone High School in 1906. When he was about 15 years old, he married a 9-year-old girl, Ramabai. That the match was arranged by the couple's parents in accordance with prevailing customs at that time. In 1907, he passed his matriculation examination and he the following year in entered Hespistone College, which was affiliated to the University of Bombay, becoming, according to him, the first from his Mahar caste to do so. When he passed his English fourth standard examination, the people of this community wanted to celebrate it because they considered that he had reached great heights, which he say was hardly an occasion compared to the state of education in other communities. A public ceremony was evoked to celebrate his success by the community, and it was at this occasion that he was presented with a biography of the Buddha by Dada Kelushkar, the other, and a family friend. By 1912, he obtained his degree in economics and political science from Bombay University and prepared to take up employment with the Baroda state government. His wife had just moved his young family and started work then. He had to quickly return to Mumbai to see his ailing father who died on 2nd February in 1913. In 1913, at the age of 22, Ambedkar was awarded a Baroda State Scholarship of Euro 11.50 per month for 3 years under a scheme stabilized by Sayaji Rao Gaikwad that were designed to provide opportunities for postgraduate education at Columbia University in New York City. Soon after arriving there, he settled in Rome at Livingstone Hall with Noel Pathna, a Parsi who was to be a lifelong friend. He passed his MA exams in June 1950, majoring in economics and other subjects to sociology, history, philosophy, and anthropology. He presented as a thesis Ancient Indian Commerce. Ambedkar was influenced by John Dewey and his work on democracy. In 1916, he completed his second master thesis, National Dividend of India, a historic and analytical study for a second MA. On 9 May, he presented the paper Caste in India, their mechanism, genesis, and development before a seminar conducted by the anthropologist Alexander Goldenweiser. Ambedkar received his PhD degree in economics at Columbia in 1927. In October 1916, he enrolled for the bar course at Gray's Inn and at the same time enrolled at the London School of Economics, where he started working on a doctoral thesis. In June 1917, he returned to India because his scholarship from Baroda ended. His book collection was dispatched on a different ship from the one he was on, and that ship was torpedoed and sunk by a German submarine. He got permission to return to London to submit his thesis within 4 years. He returned at the first opportunity and completed a master's degree in 1921. His thesis was The Problem of Rupees, Its Origin and Its Solution. In 1923, he completed a DSc in Economics, which was awarded from University of London, and the same year he was called to the bar by Grace in opposition to untouchability. As Ambedkar was educated by the princely state of Baroda, he was bound to serve it. He was appointed military secretary to the Gaikwad but had to quit in a short time. He described the incident in his autobiography. Waiting for a visa thereafter, he tried to find ways to make a living for his growing family. He worked as a private tutor, as an accountant, as and stabilized in an investment consulting business. But it failed when his clients learned that he was untouchable. In 1918, he became professor of political economy in the Seaman College of Commerce and Economics in Mumbai. Although he was successful with the students, other professors objected to his sharing a drinking water jug with them. Ambedkar had been invited to testify before the Southborough Committee, which was preparing the Government of India Act 1919. At this hearing, Ambedkar argued for creating separate electorates and reservations for untouchables and other religious communities. In 1920, he began the publication for the weekly Muknayak in Mumbai with the help of Sahu of Kolhapur, that is Sahu. 4. Ambedkar went on to work as a legal professional in 1926. He successfully defended three non Brahmin leaders who had accused the Brahmin community of ruining India and were they subsequently sued for libel. Dhananjay Keer notes. The victory was resounding both socially and individually for the clients and the doctor. While practicing law in the Bombay High Court, he tried to promote education to untouchables and uplift them. His first organized attempt was his establishment of the Central Institution Bahiskriti Hitakarni Sabha, intended to promote education and socio-economic improvement as well as the welfare of outcasts, at the time referred to as displaced classes. For the defense of Dalit rights, he started many periodicals like Mok Nayak, Bahiskriti Bharat, and Equality Janta. He was appointed to the Bombay Presidency Committee to work with the All European Simon Commission in 1925. This commission had sparked great protest across India, and while its report was ignored by most Indians, Ambedkar himself wrote a separate set of recommendations for the future constitution of India. By 1927, Ambedkar had decided to launch active movements against untouchability. He began with public movements and marches to open up public drinking water resources. He also began a struggle for the right to enter Hindu temples. He led a satyagraha in Mahad to fight for the right of the untouchable community to draw water from the main water tank of the town. Conference in late 1927, Ambedkar publicly condemned the classic Hindu text, the Manusmriti, for ideologically justifying caste discrimination and untouchability, and he ceremonially burned copies of the ancient text on 25th December 1927. He led thousands of followers of to burn copies of Manusmriti. Thus, annually 25 December is celebrated as Manusmriti Dahan Din by Ambedkar, Reddies, and Dalits. In 1930, Ambedkar launched the Kala Ram Temple movement. After 3 months of preparation, about 15,000 volunteers assembled at Kala Ram Temple, Satyagraha, making one of the greatest processions of Nasik. The procession was headed by a military band and a batch of scouts. When women and men worked with discipline, order, and determination to see the god for the first. When they reached gates, the gates were closed by Brahman authorities. Puna packed. In 1932, the British colonial government announced the formation of a separate electorate for depressed classes. In the communal award, Mahatma Gandhi firstly opposed a separate electorate for untouchables, saying he feared that such an arrangement would divide the Hindu community. Gandhi protested by fasting while imprisoned in the Yerwada Central Jail of Pune following the fast. Congressional politicians and activists such as Madan Mohan Malvi and Palwankar Balu organized joint meetings with Ambedkar and his supporters at Yerwada. On 25th September 1932, the arrangement known as the Pune Pact was signed between Ambedkar and Madan Mohan Malvi. The agreement gave reserved seats for the depressed classes in the provisional legislatures within the general electorate. Due to the pact, the depressed class received 148 seats in the legislature instead of the 71 as elected in the communal award proposed earlier by the colonial government under Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald. The text used the term depressed classes to denote untouchables among Hindus who were later called scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, tribals under the India Act 1935 and the later Indian Constitution of 1950. In the Pune Pact, a unified electorate was in principle formed, but primary and secondary elections allowed untouchables in practice to choose their own candidates. Political career in 1935, Ambedkar was appointed principal of the Government Law College, Bombay, a position he held for 2 years. He also served as the chairman of governing body of Ramjas College University of Delhi after the death of its founder Sri Rai Kedarnath. Settled in Bombay, Ambedkar oversaw the construction of a house and stocked his personal library with more than 50,000 books. His wife Ramabai died after a long illness the same year. It had been her long standing wish to go on the pilgrimage to Pandapur, Pandarpur, but Ambedkar has refused to let her go, telling her that he would create a new Pandarpur for her instead of Hinduism Pandarpur, which treated them as untouchables. At the Yola Conversion Conference on 13th October in Nasik, Ambedkar announced his intention to convert to a different religion and exhorted his followers to live Hinduism. He would repeat his message at many public meetings across India. In 1936, Ambedkar founded the Independent Labour Party, which contested the 1937 Bombay election to the Central Legislative Assembly for the 13 reserved and 4 general seats and secured 11 and 3 seats respectively. Ambedkar published his book Annihilation of Caste on 15th May 1936. It strongly criticized Hindu Orthodox religious leaders and the caste system in general and included a review of Gandhi. On the subject later in a 1955 BBC interview, he accused Gandhi of writing in opposition of the caste system in English language papers while writing in support of it in Gujarati language papers. In his writing, Ambedkar also accused Jawaharlal Nehru of being conscious of the fact that he is a Brahmin. During this time, Ambedkar also fought against the Koti system prevalent in Konkan, where caste or government revenue collection regularly exploit farmers and tenants. In 1937, Ambedkar tabled in a bill in the Bombay Legislative Assembly aimed at abolishing the Koti system by creating a direct relationship between government and farmers. Ambedkar served on the Defense Advisory Committee and the Victory Executive Council as Minister of Labour. Before the day of deliverance events, Ambedkar states that he was interested in participating. I read Mr. Jinnah's statements and I felt ashamed to have allowed him to steal a march over me and rob me of the languages and the sentiment which I more than Mr. Jinnah was entitled to use. He went on to suggest that the communities he worked with were 20 times more oppressed by Congress policies than were Indian Muslims. He clarified that he was citizen in Congress and not all Hindus. Jinnah and Ambedkar jointly addressed the heavily attended Day of Deliverance event in Bendi Bazaar, Bombay, where both expressed fairly fiery criticism of the Congress party and according to one observer suggested that Islam and Hinduism were irreconcilable. After the Lahore Resolution 1940 of the Muslim League demanding Pakistan, Ambedkar wrote a 400-page tract titled Thoughts on Pakistan, which analyzed the concept of Pakistan in all its aspects. Ambedkar argued that the Hindus should concede Pakistan to the Muslims. He approved that the provincial boundaries of Punjab and Bengal should be redrawn to separate the Muslim and non-Muslim majority parts. He thought the Muslim could have no objection to reverting provincial boundaries if they did they not quite understand the nature of their own demand. Scholar Venkat Tulipala states that thoughts on Pakistan rocked Indian politics for a decade. It determined the course of dialogues between the Muslim League and the Indian National Congress, paving the way for the partition of India. In his work, Who Were the Sudras? Ambedkar tried to explain the formation of untouchables. He saw Sudras and Ati Sundar who from the lowest caste in the ritual hierarchy of the caste system as separate from untouchables. Ambedkar oversaw the transformation of his political party into the scheduled caste federation. It did not fare well in the 1940s provision, but in Bengal it managed to elect Ambedkar to the Constituent Assembly of India by winning support from Congress legislators. Jagjeevan Ram, wife Indrani Jagjeevan Ram, wrote in her memoir that Ambedkar persuaded her husband to ask Mahatma Gandhi for his inclusion in Nehru's cabinet in independent India. Initially, Jagjeevan Ram considered Vallabhbhai Patel before asking Gandhi to recommend Ambedkar to Nehru for inclusion in cabinet, adding that Ambedkar had given up his antagonism to Congress and Gandhiji. Ambedkar was ultimately included as the Law Minister of India in first Nehru Ministry after Gandhi recommendation his name to Nehru. On 27 December 1951, Ambedkar resigned from Nehru's cabinet ministry after a Hindu court bill was defeated in parliament. Ambedkar contested in the Bombay North First Indian general election of 1952 but lost to his former assistant and Congress Party candidate Narayan Sadoba Kajolkar, Ambedkar became a member of Rajya Sabha. Probably an appointment member, he tried to enter Lok Sabha again in the by-election of 1954 from Bandra, but he placed third by the time of second general election in 1957. Ambedkar has died. India's constitution. Upon India's independence on 15th August 1947, the new Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru invited Ambedkar to serve the dominion of India's Law Ministry. 2 weeks later, he was appointed chairman of the drafting committee of the Constitution for the future Republic of India. On 25th November 1949, Ambedkar, in his concluding speech in Constituent Assembly, said, "The credit that is given to me does not really belong to me. It belongs partly to Sir B. N. Rao, to constitutional advisor to the Constituent Assembly, who prepared a rough draft of the Constitution for the consideration of the drafting committee. Indian Constitution guarantees and protection for a wide range of civil liberties for individual citizens, including freedom of religion, the abolition of untouchability, and the outlawing of all forms of discrimination. Ambedkar was one of the ministers who argued for extensive economic and social rights for the women and won the Assembly support for introduction a system of reservation of jobs in the civil services, schools and colleges for members of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and other backward class, a system akin to affirmative action. India's lawmakers hoped to eradicate the socio-economic inequalities and lack of opportunities for India's oppressed classes. Through these measures, the Constitution was adopted on 26 November 1949 by the Constitutional Assembly. Stephen Sarah Bracey has voiced agreement with Martha C. Nishubham assessment of the India Constitution as a medical constitution on account of the Supreme Court of India having evolved away from judicial restraint and legal positivism, favored and successfully accused into the Constitution in 1950 by Jawaharlal Nehru and leaders of India's anti-colonial nationalist movement who held sway in the Constituent Assembly of India to an purposive approach by which the court rules today, whereby it is the final arbiter of the Constitution's meaning and its interpretations are binding on the executive and legislative branches of the government. Ambedkar has supported the purposive approach during the drafting of the Constitution from 1947 to 1949, but his views were in a minority. Ambedkar had often shared his concern in the Constitutional Assembly that country might lose both its constitution and its democratic freedoms in the future. He believed that the lack of a strong democratic tradition, the widespread presence of bhakti or political hero worship, and the large gap between the Republican promises of the Constitution and socio-economic inequality made this a distinct and ever-present possibility. Ambedkar expressed his disapproval for the Constitution in 1953 during a parliament session and said, "People always keep on saying to me, 'Oh, you are the maker of the Constitution.' My answer is, I was a hack. What I was asked to do I did not against my will." Ambedkar added that I am quite prepared to say that I shall be the first person to burn it out. I do not want it. It does not suit anybody. Economics. Ambedkar was the first Indian to pursue a doctorate in economics abroad. He argued that industrialization and agricultural growth could enhance the Indian economy. He stated investment in agriculture as the primary industry of India. Ambedkar advocated national economics and sociology development, stressing education, public hygiene, community health, residential facilities as the basic amenities. His DSc thesis, The Problem of the Rupees, Its Origin and Solution 1923 is yes, the cases for the rupees fall in value. In the delistation, he argued in favor of a gold standard in modified form, was opposed to the gold exchange standard favored by Keynes in his treatise Indian Currency and Finance 1909, claiming it was less stable. He favored the stoppage of all further coinage of the rupees and minting of a gold coin which he believed would fix currency rates in prices. He also analyzed revenue in his PhD dissertations, the evolution of provision finance in British India. In this work, he analyzed the various systems used by the British colonial government to manage finance in India. His views on finance were that governments should ensure that expenditures have faithfulness, wisdom, and economy. Faithfulness meaning governments should use money as nearly as possible to the original intention of spending the money. In the first place, wisdom meaning it should be used as well as possible for the public good and economy, meaning the funds should be used so that the maximum value can be extracted from them. Ambedkar opposed income tax for low income groups. He contributed in land revenue tax and excise duty policies to stabilize the economy. He played an important role in land reform and the state economic development. According to him, the caste system, due to its division of labors and hierarchical natures, impeded movements of labor and movements of capital. His theory of state socialism and 3 points state ownership of agriculture, land, the maintenance of resources for production by the states, and a just distribution of these resources to the population. He imaged a free economy with a stable rupee, which India has adopted recently. He advocated birth control to develop of the Indian economy, and this has been adopted by India's government as national policy for the planning. He imaged equal rights for women for economic development. In his book, The Evolution of Provisional Finance in British India, Ambedkar wrote a central government for the whole of the India could not be said to possess knowledge and experience of all various constitutions prevailing in different provinces under it is therefore necessarily becomes an otherwise competence to deal with matters of provisional administration than the provisional government. Ambedkar's views agriculture land was that too much of it was idle or that it was not being utilized properly. He believed there was an ideal proportion of production factors that would allow agricultural land to be used most productively. To this end, he saw the large portion of people who lived on agriculture at the time as a major problem. Therefore, he advocated integration of economy to allow these agricultural labors to be more used elsewhere. Ambedkar was of the view that there is a need to shift surplus labor from agricultural channels to non-agricultural channels. Ambedkar was trained as an economist and was a professional economist until 1921. When he became a political leader, he wrote three books on economics. The first book is The Evolution of Professional Finance in British India. The second book name is The Problem of the Rupee, Its Origin and Its Solution. And the third book of Administration and Finance of the East India Company. Ambedkar's first wife Ramabai. His marriage in 1935 after a long illness after completing the draft of India's constitution in the late 1940s. He suffered from a lack of sleep, had neuropathic pain in his legs, and was taking insulin and homeopathic medicines. He went to Bombay for treatment and there met Sarda Kabir MBBS, whom he married on 15th April 1948 and at his home in New Delhi. Doctors recommended a companion who was a good cook and was a medical practitioner to care for him. She adopted the name Savita Ambedkar and cared for him the rest of his life. Savita Ambedkar, who was called also My died on 29th May 2003, aged 93 in Mumbai. Conversion to Buddhism. Ambedkar considered converting to Sikhism, which encouraged opposition to oppression and so appealed to leaders of scheduling castes. But after meeting with Sikh leaders, he concluded that he might get second-rate secretaries. Instead, around 1950, he began devoting his attention to Buddhism and traveled to Ceylon to attend a meeting of the World Fellowship of Buddhists while dedicating a new Buddhist vihara near Pune. Ambedkar announced he was writing a book of Buddhism and that when it was finished, he would formally convert to Buddhism. He twice visited Burma in 1954, the second time to attend the third conference of the World Fellowship of Buddhists in Yangon. In 1955, he founded the Bharatiya Bauddha Mahasabha or the Buddhist Society of India. In 1956, he completed his final work, The Buddha and His Dhamma, which was published posthumously after meetings with the Sri Lankan Buddhist monk Hamanwala Hamalava Sadistha. Ambedkar organized a formal public ceremony for himself and his supporters in Nagpur on 14 October 1956, accepting the three refugees and five precepts from a Buddhist monk in the traditional manner. Ambedkar completed his own conversion along with his wife. He then proceeded to convert some 5 lakh of his supporters who were gathered around him. He prescribed the 22 vows for these converts after the three prayers and five precepts. He then traveled to Kathmandu, Nepal to attend the fourth World Buddhist Conference. His work on the Buddha or Karl Marx and revolution and counter-revolution in ancient India remained incomplete. Death. Since 1948, Ambedkar had diabetes. He remained in bed from June to October in 1954 due to medicine side effects and poor eyesight. His health worsened during 1955. There, 3 days after completing his final manuscript, The Buddha and His Dhamma, Ambedkar died in his sleep on 6 December 1956 and at his home in Delhi. A Buddhist ceremony was organized at Dadar Chowpathi beach on 7th December, attended by half a million, giving people a conversion program was organized on 16th December only 1956. so that sermon attendees were also converted to Buddhism at the same place. Ambedkar was survived by his second wife Savita Ambedkar, who died in 2003, and his son Yashwant Ambedkar, who died in 1977. Savita and Yashwant carried on the social-religious movement started by B.R. Ambedkar. Yashwant served as the second president of Buddhist Society of India and a member of the Maharashtra Legislative Council. Link Ambedkar elders grandson Prakta Yashwant Ambedkar in the chief advisor of the Buddhist Society of India leads the Masjid Pajun Akadi and had served in both houses of the India Parliament. Ambedkar's younger grandson Anand Raj Ambedkar leads the Republican Sena. A number of unfinished types, script, and handwritten drafts were found among Ambedkar's notes and papers, and gradually made available. Among these were Waiting for a Visa, which probably dates from 1935 to 1936 and is an autobiographical work, and The Untouchables or the Children of India's Ghetto, which refers to the census of 1951. A memorial for Ambedkar was established in his Delhi house at 26 Aligarh Road. He birthday, known as Ambedkar Jayanti or Bhim Jayanti, is observed as public holiday in many Indian states. He was posthumously awarded India's highest civilian honor, the Bharat Ratna, in 1919. On the anniversary of his birth and death and the Dhamma Chakra Pravartan Din at Nagpur, at least half a million people gathered to pay homage to him at his memorial in Mumbai. Thousands of bookshops are set up in and books are sold. His message to his followers, educated, organized. So please keep the watching video and let's get subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon. So thank you everyone.